Let's talk a little Kamloops Blazers action. Yes, it has been a longer off season than they're used to. At least that's how the last number of years have gone. But we do have some Blazer news with the draft taking place. The WHL's Bantam draft happening late last week. The Kamloops Blazers selecting 5 forwards, 5 defensemen, 1 goalie. A nice balanced draft, but making a big trade as well as goalie Jesse Sanche has left the team. Let's talk about everything that has happened here over the last few days. And to do that, I'm joined now on the line by head coach and GM of your Kamloops Blazers. It is Shaun Clouston. Coach, good morning. How are you today?
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. Doing well, thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. And maybe I'll just start with a quick analysis from yourself on the draft. Like I said, a very balanced draft here, basically picking 5 forwards, 5 defensemen, 1 goalie. Everyone comes away, I think, from every draft thinking that they had a really good, scouting report, really good picks. It's hard to come away from a draft and not be optimistic. So how do you approach, or how do you come away from this past draft? Obviously, feeling pretty good, I would imagine, here in the early stages.
Yeah, I think that that's a fair comment. That you feel good leaving the draft. I think there's differences each year. I think that we were very well prepared. This was Aaron Keller's first draft, and he worked incredibly hard to learn about the players, to really understand, potentially who was available, to dig deep into, areas that are important to us regarding, not only, their play on the ice, their potential, but, some character elements. We definitely wanted to, get a real good grasp or understanding on, their interest, their intentions of playing in the league, because we have had a player or two, in the recent past that we weren't able to sign. If you pick a player, somewhere early in the draft, that creates a big hole. I mean, it's an absolute swing and a miss. So I think that was important heading into the draft. So overall, really pleased with everything, with the preparation, the creation of the list, and then kind of the strategy and the things we were able to do in and around the draft with moving some picks, making the one trade involving a roster player and preparing for this, not only this season, but the next draft and the next draft.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get to that trade in just a second, but I wanted to just ask quickly, was there any conscious effort put towards being a very balanced draft here this year, picking a number of forwards, a number of defensemen, and getting another person in the crease to be a part of the system here? Or is that just the way the chips fell?
There's always an awareness there. You don't want to pick 10 forwards or flip it and pick all defensemen. We probably, at the end of the draft, ended up with a defenseman or 2. I mean, there's 3 forwards on the ice and 2 defensemen, so you usually pick a few more forwards. But the 2 young players that we drafted later, we're really excited about. They're guys that the only reason why we picked them so late is because of size. They're both undersized defensemen, and with a lot of growth potential when you look at what they potentially could do moving forward. As a larger player, it's very exciting.
Yeah, is there, I guess, a challenge that often comes with that when you're looking at people who are so young here, and obviously there's always the possibility that they, have a growth spurt, jump a couple inches, gain a few pounds, the body just kind of grows into itself, which, it's you can never really evaluate that. You never really know what someone might turn into in a couple of years when it comes to just the size of who they are.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I mean, we've spent a lot of time with that topic. It is a bigger challenge for smaller players. I mean, if you're a 5, 6, 7 fully grown player in our league, it's challenging. It doesn't mean you can't do it. I mean, there's been some, very successful smaller players have success at our level and move on to the NHL, but it does make it more of a challenge. At 14 years old, these players are in a really interesting, age where you've got some players that are almost fully developed. They've hit their growth spurt. Their bodies are more like 16 or 17-year-olds, and you've got some players that are, chronologically 14 years old, but, they're more similar to a 12 or 13-year-old player. It's the biggest variance of any age group. So it makes it even more challenging. So a lot of times you have to make sure that you're evaluating, the potential of that player and not just their play on the ice right now. Even within that, you've got players that are almost a year apart in age. So somebody that's born on, January 1st versus somebody that's born December 31st of the same year. I mean, they're the same draft year, the same age in hockey, and yet they're almost a year apart. So that can have an effect as well.
Yeah, the fact that is something that they talk about when it comes to the NHL draft, obviously even more of a prominent thing to think about when you're talking about a junior draft here as well. Let's get to the trade here. I just want to know sort of what the thought process was when it comes to sending Jesse Sanche to Everette. We'll get to what you get in return, but obviously there was a bit of a logjam in the crease with Edmonstone, Sanche, and of course Dylan Ernst is still here as well as he gets set to come into his 20-year-old season. There was a clear need to probably free up a spot there to make sure that you weren't going in with a three-headed monster, I guess, so to speak, going into camp. But what's the plan, I guess, for Between the Pipes? Are you set right now? Is there still some evaluating to do? What's the next couple of months look like in terms of trying to figure out what will look like in the crease?
I think there's always evaluation, so we'll definitely continue to evaluate everything moving forward. But we're in a good situation now. I think with where we're at this year, next year, the year after, we were very impressed with Edmonstone when he came in. Believed that he was ready to play. There's always a challenge going with two younger goalies. It would have been the situation, heading in, and there's definitely a decision to be made. There's a lot of different aspects. It's evaluating each player's game, but also, evaluating, what the market is and who we may be able to move to, help the team not only this year, but in future years. And, that's the big part of the decision is, we've got to get down to two goaltenders at some point. We also are very excited about some of our younger goaltending prospects, and things just keep moving forward. So to be able to, accommodate Jesse, get him to a good spot, to a team that is looking for a goaltender, you have to have two parties. You have to have a team that's interested. So we're excited about that. All our goaltenders were in a tough situation last year where, there was going to be a lot of nights where they faced a lot of heat. So we're excited about the return, and we're pleased that Jesse was able to find a spot, move on, and battle for the top spot there.
All right, we'll wrap up here as we're coming up on the clock, but I just want to get to that return. I think a 2026 second-round pick kind of speaks for itself, how valuable that'll be in a couple of years' time. Obviously, there's the potential to move it or pick a player with that selection. But Nico Sakamas is obviously someone that I've seen some pretty positive scouting reports on. You get someone with a little experience in the league to come and be on the back end. 18-year-old defenseman here as well. What do you make of him? Why was he attractive, and what are the Blazers getting in this player?
Yeah, I think he's 18, turning 19. He's been in the league. He's established himself. He's vetted himself as an everyday player. I think that it's almost the reverse situation where they had potentially a little bit of a crowded decor. They've got some players coming in, including DuPont. So we're real excited. He's got some upside. I think he's a 200-foot player. We're moving on Barros. Ryan Michael is potentially missing a little bit of the beginning of the season after undergoing surgery. So this just shores things up and gives us some experience on the back end that is very valuable.
All right, Coach. Well, I'll have to leave it there for now. Always appreciate the chance to catch up, and definitely looking forward to the next season. But of course, you got a little bit of time here before you have to worry about that. Appreciate you joining us here. Congrats on the draft that you had, and we'll catch up hopefully in the not too distant future. Appreciate this morning.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jeff.
Awesome stuff. That's head coach and GM of your Kamloops Blazers, Shaun Clouston, joining us here.